This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, True Seekers and True Crime Junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'd like to welcome to the show today Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Any exciting cases last week?
No. Well, I finished a trial and I won. It was a domestic violence. So,
Oof.
Yeah.
I say yay for the win.
There was no domestic violence on either side. It shouldn't have been in court. But the other side insisted on going to trial. So we took it to trial and we won.
Wow. That is
insane.
The week
before I had a family law trial that I broke even on. But then I had to do an ex parte because the chick didn't follow the court order.
Was she your client or the other person?
No, the other side.
Oh, gotcha.
Dictator.
Family. Well, I think our show is all about dictators, so that fits right in.
Okay.
Well, I had a couple of comments off of last week's show, which was Dennis Kaufman's video. Did you get a chance to watch that?
Not yet, but I've seen parts of it before, and we've gone over lots of it as well. And I've met Dennis, of course.
Right.
But I didn't see the actual episode.
Okay. I did see that YouTube kicked back that it was not going to be shown in some countries because there was copyright on the music that was on it. Now, I hardly believe that Dennis produced this thing and was able to get it produced without having rights to do so. I mean, will people literally produce a documentary or a video without that? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Right? I don't know either. There was
throw it out there, and if it sticks on the wall, it sticks.
Evidently, there were 3 songs on there, and they were stating that, of course, they're copyrighted. They're owned by the people who sang the songs. So I don't know if Dennis had permission to use them or not, or how many people were actually able to view that. But I did have one person who was clearly able to view it, and they had a lot to say. I want to say it's at Trashly. That's the name, Trashly. Okay. Why would we want to name ourselves that? And maybe it's a spinoff of Ashley. Like, I don't know. Either way, this person says, these handwritten ones we know weren't Zodiac, according to Riverside PD. So I'm assuming what they're talking about is the Sherry Joe Bates. And I would like to make a correction for this individual, if they are back to watch the next episode, is that there is no, according to Riverside PD, we're not the Zodiac. Every instance and every evidence, I mean, even law enforcement from the San Francisco and Bay Area joined Riverside to discuss the commonalities between the communications and the author. And it was stated by the document examiners at that time that were working for the government. Now, I know this is one of the quandaries that I have. I want to say that they're always giving an inconclusive, or they're not really, doing their jobs. And then I want to say that, yes, they identified the handwriting as being one and the same. The upside here is that I'm not some lay person doing this podcast. I am a handwriting expert, and this is what I do for a living. So I have viewed these letters. I have made the connection between the authors, and I do believe that the Sherry Joe Bates crime was committed by the Zodiac. And in recent years, they've been trying to do whatever they can to bifurcate these cases and act as though they're not one and the same. And I think that really is because they're just trying to keep the conspiracy from being seen by everybody, which is more people are involved in this than we really actually know. Let's welcome Lindsay.
Even Graysmith and others, I think most people know admit that Sherry Joe Bates in Riverside was part of the Zodiac. It was pre-Zodiac.
100%.
It was before he had the persona of Zodiac, but it's still the same person or people.
Well, you know what's interesting is at the bottom of the 3 notes in Sherry Joe Bates, there is actually, it looks like a number 2 or a Z at the bottom of it. So was he really only Zodiac come Zodiac era, or was he this persona well before then?
Who knows? Yep.
Right.
But it's the same person or people.
Good morning, Lindsay.
Yes, 100%.
Now,
good morning. I don't know what was going on. I couldn't. I got in like right when you came on, and then it went, and then like you froze. So I restarted it twice and finally got in.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yes.
And Juan says sometimes songs are not copyrighted at the time used, but can become copyrighted later on. So that could be a reason why Dennis was able to make the documentary, and then now it's being, copyright cautioned, I guess, if you will. So I know that you wanted me to watch something before today. I think you sent it to me last night. Was that another thing from Noor Jasmine?
No, it was actually Candace Owens.
And who is that?
Girl, y'all don't know who she is?
I don't know who she is.
I don't know who anybody is. Girl, I'm stuck in my own little research world over here. I'm living in the past.
Well, I don't even know how you haven't even pondered upon her, because literally, like, she's not only in the political movement, but she is also one of the number one, if not the number one, biggest podcaster you ever have seen in your life. Like, she has like 3 million followers. Not really 3 million, but 1 million at least. And she is huge right now because of her following. This is huge for the things that she's talking about, because it all links together with what we are talking about in the whole network and the whole web. So that's why I really was wanting you to watch it, because not only is she continuously, every podcast, she is putting things together, but she is making the connections that we are making. And so it's going to be much bigger audience than I've ever seen that are hearing this. And they're going to be able to put that together. And I'm like, so excited.
Yes. Say that again. Say that again.
She's biting on our stuff.
Well, I made all of these connections as early as, I want to say, I started obviously in 2009 identifying Jack Terrence as the author of the Zodiac letters, but I really didn't completely put everything together until, all of these individuals, anonymous or not, came in and gave me other letters and other crime sprees across the United States, where I started to put everything together and see this group view. So when I came into it, I honestly looked at the Zodiac like he was just a single person out there, being a jerk, killing people, taunting the police and the media. Yeah.
Well, that's what they wanted you to think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and if anybody knows, you don't start by writing a 3-page letter, right, to law enforcement and to the media right out the gate, which is what he did when he took claim for the first 2 sets of killings. That's too long of a communication. You have baby steps, and here he is not doing it once, but twice and 3 times. So 3 seemed to be the magic number.
That's one of their favorite numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
And he loved to leave clues. Like he wrote on the car. At Berryessa and things like that. He was.
Well, and you have to be very brave.
Every single postcard and whatnot, every communication had clues in it, and the ciphers all clues.
Yeah. Well, and I'm waiting for them to come back and tell us eventually at some point, because this is just, it feels like the way it's going is that the Zodiac didn't write on Brian Hartnell's car. I'm waiting to hear this next. I've heard there's no military connection in some of the latest documentaries. I've heard, we'll get into Fouke, and we've got a couple false suspects we're working on today. Let me keep myself on track, otherwise I'm going to lose myself. So basically, Candace Owens, what was her? She was basically just outing everybody.
So she's putting all of it together as far as the military involvement in the CIA, and the cartels and the mafia and big money people. And how those connect, and how it also connects to the murder of Charlie Kirk. And yes, I'm not even kidding. I have chills right now because
I
every
don't.
time she connects something, I'm like, oh my God, yes. Thank you for saying this out loud to all these people, because so many people are going to see what they are right now. Like, and it's going to explode. It's really going to explode, y'all. Like, I'm just like biting my teeth every time.
The guy that confessed to Charlie Kirk wasn't that kind of a marksman from that distance to hit the perfect shot. And there's evidence that it was a shooter from closer range that actually killed Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, and actually, I looked at the video on that, and it actually appears as though it's somebody standing within the group right next to him.
Behind him, or to the side, yeah.
To the side, and the way his body shifted was based on the bullet coming from a completely different angle than the angle that the shooter would have had access to.
He was so far away. He was even further than Oswald.
and they're getting good.
If he took a shot at anything, he shot it in the air, just so people would hear the shot.
Well, and wait till I did do some more. I did watch the other Noor Jasmine video that you sent me. We're going to talk a bit about that as well. I'm going to make it through these YouTube comments from this individual really quick. So we talked about Riverside PD. I'm sorry if people are out there trying to, assert that this is not connected. You need to go back. You need to research. You need to open up the FOIA files. You need to take a look at the millions of times that they said that this was a connected crime. Now, Trash Lee went on to say, I don't understand the story at all. The stepdad went to the store and picked up a gun. Did he point it at the other people or say something? I don't understand why picking it up is such a big deal. Well, girl, you need to go back. And I'm assuming this is a girl. It could be a boy. I have no idea. But you need to go back to the very beginning of this presentation and start with video number 1, and you will understand why Jack picking up a gun is so menacing. And basically I laid out for that person 3 different scenarios that are just absolutely scary, at least from my point of view as a human being, that Jack would be menacing with anything, including an assault with a deadly weapon against his own family. She went on to say March 1969, Zodiac didn't exist yet because the letters came after Blue Rock Springs in late July 1969, and there were no letters after Lake Herman Road. Whoa, this person is seriously stunted in the research of the Zodiac case if they believe that there were no letters after Lake Herman Road. What the hell? I don't even know who's talking to me right now, and I want to find I want to find that this person is probably just buying up my time and keeping me busy. It says the name came in August 1969. Well, the name may have came in August, and that's when it was produced. And they say that he picked it himself. So if the Zodiac picked out his name himself and it wasn't a moniker given to him by the media, then I would even more so instill that Sherry Jo Bates was a part of it, because we do see what appears to be a Z at the bottom of each one of these letters before he actually called himself the Zodiac. So I think somebody needs to do a little more research before they hop on my YouTube channel and try to tell me what's going on in this case.
And we know that Arthur Lee Allen is not Zodiac, but we do know that Jack was acquainted with Arthur Lee Allen. And Arthur Lee Allen has ties to Riverside.
Sometimes I wonder if he didn't make those acquaintances in order to form the Patsy, because then he could learn enough about them.
Yeah. Or maybe his handlers sent him down there. I don't know what the deal was, but he was involved.
And I think that if Arthur Lee Allen had a handler, if he was part of any of this, he would have screamed that out loud when he was protesting his innocence. If he was part of some group or, was part of anything, I think he
liked being kind of like a suspect, but he knew he wasn't the dude.
No, he had a heart attack over this stuff. He pretty much, his life was turned upside down. He died with a letter, a typewritten letter in his hand saying, I am not the Zodiac. Like, I don't think he liked it at all.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I think being part of the intrigue.
Right. So what I'm going to read here to you guys now is something from Project Mockingbird. Yeah. Project Mockingbird. So it really is going to kind of reinstill some of the things that we're talking about when it sounds so crazy that I'm blaming the media for involvement. I'm blaming mob. I'm blaming syndicates. I'm blaming politicians. I'm blaming everything. And quite frankly, as Candace Owens is probably letting everybody know, is that one hand does not work without the other. So
Correct.
The mob doesn't exist without the CIA. The CIA does not exist without the politicians. The politicians do not exist without the media. Like, all of these people have to be in play. We talked about that article from the mayor from New York, who was supposedly good and honest, but then was found to be very... Yeah. And then was found to be so deep into evil, nefarious stuff, and knowing some of the worst people in this world, that they literally had to make him an ambassador of Mexico to keep him from coming under an indictment. So you make him a diplomat, right? And then they have diplomatic immunity. Nobody can touch you. You can't be convicted for anything. So these are the kind of things that
which I think is BS.
Oh, they're just protecting each other.
That's why they discredited Maury Terry, because he was drawing too much into it. Like,
oh yeah,
the cops are corrupt, the district attorney is corrupt. There's a lot of corruption related to these murders and satanic cults.
Well, and then like right now, a lot of these other major podcasters and media outlets are. Even the right-wing ones are literally calling out Candace and calling her crazy and that she has lost her mind and all kinds of stuff like that. So that's when you know you're on the target.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean that either, because I think with Jesse Ventura and Joe Rogan and some of these people, I think that they are specifically paid for this. We're going to talk about what they will do to create a narrative in our mind. So it looks like they're on our side because they're outing these individuals, but then there's a certain front that is attempting to make them look crazy and insane. And I think that the whole entire process is really just to kind of satiate those that obviously know something's going on with our government and don't really have any resources or outlet for that information. So they seek that information from these individuals. I've reached out to these people, and none of them have taken me up on discussing this case with me. And that tells me volumes, because if they were truly somebody that believed that these things were going on, they would entertain something like this and not just push it underneath the rug. So Noor Jasmine is somebody that Lindsay has introduced me to, basically through her podcast. And so I watched the podcast this last week, and this is some of the stuff. So Project Mockingbird was basically like an MK Ultra program, only this one was set against the United States. So when we talk about things like Hearst making the comments that you get me the pictures, I'll get you your war, right? So he's saying, make stuff up, yellow journalism. Let's just create what we need to create, and I'll get you your war. So I want you guys to pay attention to and another thing I don't really quite understand is that how Noor Jasmine comes across all of these unredacted documents. I've never seen such clean, pure documents where you could read everything. And she
that last one was amazing.
Here we go. So basically, they were looking, this is during the Cuban time, they were looking to create the war between the U.S. and Cuba, and this is how they stated they would do it. So these are classified FOIA files, and this is the U.S. government making these mentions. So it says a series of well-coordinated incidences will be planned to take place in and around Guantanamo to give genuine appearance of being done by hostile Cuban forces. Keep that in mind. They're going to create this scenario. So to me, this is a Charlie Kirk. This is a school shooting. This is all these other antagonistic situations, just like the Zodiac. You guys are going to hear the actual
I have chills. Oh my God.
You're going to hear the actual blueprint for how they create this chaos and these antagonistic situations, even to the point where they create things like Black Lives Matter. They create these things in order to keep us in a state of unstableness, if you will. So let's go down the list of what they're willing to do.
Remember the
name. You're going to get, you nailed it. Hold on. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
What did Nolan say? I missed it.
Remember the Maine. That was when they.
Hold on. Nolan. Let's not.
Okay, we'll wait.
Let's not jump above me. Yeah. Okay. So This is what they're going to do. This is their plan for creating the Cuban War. So, incidents to establish a credible attack, not in chronological order. Number 1, start rumors, many. Use clandestine radio. Number 2, land friendly Cubans in uniform over the fence. So these are our friends. These are friendly Cubans that we're going to land over the fence to stage an attack on the base, to make it look like these friendlies are looking to attack us. Capture Cuban-friendly saboteurs inside the base. Start riots near the base main gate, friendly Cubans. Blow up ammunition inside the base, start fires. Burn aircraft on the airbase, sabotage. Lob mortar shells from outside of the base into the base, some damage to installations. Capture assault teams approaching from the sea or vicinity of Guantanamo City. Capture militia group which storms the base. Sabotage ship in the harbor, large fires, naphthalene. Sink ship near harbor entrance. Conduct funerals for mock victims. Mock victims, you guys.
Yes, I know.
I can't even, you know, when people said things like, oh, the school shooting was fake and these people went on, they were just actors and then they went on to live their lives later somewhere else, they didn't really die. I thought that's just too much for my mind to conceive. We watch these people be shot or we watch them, you know, wheeled out in a gurney. They literally have a recipe for this.
Yep.
Let's see. B, United States would respond by executing offensive operations to secure water and power supplies, destroying artillery and mortar emplacements which threaten the base. Commence large-scale United States military operations. A, remember the Maine. Number 3 is a remember the Maine incident could be arranged in several forms. And A, we could blow up a U.S. ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba. This is our U.S. government, you guys.
Or Spain. They're blaming Spain. Yeah.
Right. So now, Maine, I had to look that up. Obviously, when I get my claws into something, Nolan, you know me, I'm going to take it further. I'm like, what the heck is remember Maine, right? Maine was the United States Navy ship that sank in Havana Harbor on 15th of February, 1898, contributing to the outbreak of the Spanish-American War in April. U.S. newspapers engaging in yellow journalism to boost circulation claimed that the Spanish were responsible for the ship's destruction. The phrase, remember the Maine, to hell with Spain, became a rallying cry for action. Although the Maine explosion was not a direct cause, it served as a catalyst that accelerated the events leading up to the war. Maine was sent to Havana Harbor to protect U.S. interests during the Cuban War of Independence. She exploded and sank on the evening of 15th of February, 1898, killing 268 sailors, or 3/4 of her crew. In 1898, a U.S. Navy Board of Inquiry ruled that the ship had been sunk by an external explosion from a mine. However, some U.S. Navy officers disagreed with the board, suggesting that the ship's magazines had been ignited by a spontaneous fire in a coal bunker. The coal used in Maine was bituminous, which is known for releasing fire damp, a mixture of gases composed primarily of flammable methane that is prone to spontaneous explosions. An investigation by Admiral Hyman Rickover in 1974 agreed with the coal fire hypothesis, penning a 1976 monograph that argued for this conclusion. The cause of her sinking remains a subject of debate. So this is what they create, right? The debates. Aren't we here now debating what all of this is about?
It was like, what's that? In Vietnam, when they had a false attack on a United States ship to escalate the war.
Exactly.
That's like the Maine was. Yeah.
That's what our government is doing. They're creating these things. This is a big boy's toy here, guys. Not many of us could achieve this. But here we come to section B. We could blow up a drone, unmanned vessel anywhere in the Cuban waters.
They had drones back then. Yes.
Exactly.
I know.
So when I try to tell people that these things are staged or these things are occurring or technology is 50 years in advance, this is another huge key point that I've shown through these presentations, amongst many other things, that these things existed well before our knowledge. Now, when was
1898? Yeah, it was.
No. 1898 was Maine.
The Maine,
this is the Cuban. This is the Cuban event, which I want to say is what? Early 60s? When is Cuba?
Oh, you mean Bay of Pigs?
Well, that's the Cuban War, right? So I'm assuming
No,
that these
the Spanish-American War was 18.
I'm not talking about the
98.
I'm not talking about the Spanish-American War. The
Okay.
use of the drones came in the Cuban event.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back to the Cuban event now.
Well,
so
the
when I
Maine
said
was a Cuban event.
No, Maine was not a
war
Cuban
over
event.
Cuba.
It was a Spanish war.
But over Cuba.
I didn't see anything mentioned about Cuba in here.
Yes.
Okay, well,
but you would come forward to Guantanamo, which is a whole different thing. That's a United States base in Cuba.
Correct.
But
okay, but this is much years later.
Guantanamo Harbor.
Okay, well, I didn't understand that the Maine was part of a Cuban war. That's 1898. I'm here in the current.
They called it the Spanish-American War because Spain was in control of Cuba at the time. The United States wanted to take it away from Cuba.
So they've been doing this to Cuba. They've been doing this to Cuba then for a very long time because that's
it was a colony forever since 1898.
Okay, but what is the more recent Cuban war?
The Revolution in 1960.
Yeah, the 60s.
That's what I was saying, in the 60s. So as early as the 60s, this is when this Project Mockingbird is taking place. Now, the drone, again,
one quick point, Nanette. Even after the Cuban Revolution, Castro and all that, and Che Guevara, the United States has always had a military base in Cuba. To this day, we still have Guantanamo in Cuba. That's the United States military base in Cuba. We have no reason to fear Cuba.
I feel that Hearst's I feel like if I went back to look at the information where Hearst said, if you get me the pictures, I'll get you your war, he was talking about Cuba. So there was this all in from the media, from the politicians, from everybody to create this war, which makes the 9/11 events even that much more stronger in my mind that this was something that was devised and planned by our own government.
100%.
It goes on to say we could arrange to cause such incident in the vicinity of Havana or Santiago as a spectacular result of Cuban attack from the air or sea or both. The presence of Cuban planes or ships merely investigating the event of the vessel could be fairly compelling evidence that the ship would add credibility, especially to those people that might have heard the blast or have seen the fire. The U.S. could follow up with an air-sea rescue operation covered by U.S. fighters to evacuate remaining members of the non-existent crew. Casualty lists in U.S. newspapers would cause a helpful wave of national indignation. Casualty lists. They're going to create a casualty list. This is school shootings 101. Let's see. We could develop a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even in Washington. The terror campaign could be pointed at Cuban refugees seeking haven in the United States. We could sink a boatload of Cubans en route to Florida, real or simulated, in parentheses. We could foster attempts on lives of Cuban refugees in the United States, even to the extent of wounding in instances to be widely publicized. Exploding a few plastic bombs in carefully chosen spots, the arrest of Cuban agents and the release of prepared documents substantiating Cuban involvement also would be helpful in projecting the idea of an irresponsible government. So now they're creating documents, which I feel like that's what we're in with on the Zodiac, right? Like creating these documents that makes it look like our law enforcement and so forth is incompetent.
Yeah.
Number 5, Cuban-based, Castro-supported filibuster could be simulated against a neighboring Caribbean nation in the vein of the 14th of June invasion of the Dominican Republic. We know that Castro is backing subversive efforts clandestinely against Haiti, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and Nicaragua at present, and possible others. These efforts can be magnified and additional ones contrived for exposure. For example, advantage can be taken of the sensitivity of the Dominican Air Force to intrusions within their national airspace. Cuban B-26 or C-46 type aircraft could make cane-burning raids at night. Soviet, what is that? Soviet
MiGs?
B-1 something incendiaries could be found. This could be coupled, projecting the idea of an irresponsible government. Oh, what did I miss there?
So they're trying to create a reason to invade Cuba?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Well, they're trying to make it look like Cuban has attacked them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Us.
In order for it to be okay for me for us to attack them.
Bingo. All right. So with Cuban messages to the communist underground in the Dominican Republic and Cuban shipments of arms which would be found or intercepted on the beach. Use of MiG-type aircraft by U.S. pilots could provide additional provocation. Harassment of civil air, attacks on surface shipping, and destruction of U.S. military drone aircraft by MiG-type planes would be useful as complementary actions. An F-86 properly painted would convince air passengers that they saw a Cuban MiG, especially if the pilot of the transport were to announce such facts. The primary drawback to this suggestion appears to be the security risk inherent in obtaining or modifying an aircraft. However, reasonable copies of the MiG could be produced from U.S. resources in about 3 months. Oh my God, you guys, this makes me physically sick to my stomach.
It's so funny that countries they mentioned are all countries we ended up invading.
Exactly, and we want their resources. That's why we're there.
Yep.
It is possible to create an incident which will demonstrate convincingly that a Cuban aircraft has attacked and shot down a chartered civil airliner en route from the United States to Jamaica, Guatemala, Panama, or Venezuela. The destination
Venezuela.
would be Venezuela.
That's prophetic.
Right? The destination would be chosen only to cause. Is that where they just stole the? Where did they just steal the president from?
Venezuela.
Okay, so this is an ongoing beef. This is the Hatfield and McCoys between U.S. and Venezuela.
Well, it's the Monroe Doctrine. It's been around since the mid-1800s.
Yeah. The destination would be chosen.
The Western Hemisphere is under our. We control it, and we're not going to let anyone do what they want to do. We're going to make sure they do what we want them to do.
And we're going to cause and create whatever it is that we want to play with, evidently.
And take their natural resources.
Exactly. The destination would be chosen only to cause the flight plan route to cross Cuba. The passengers could be a group of college students off on a holiday or any grouping of persons with a common interest to support chartering a non-scheduled flight. An aircraft at Eglin Air Force Base would be painted and numbered as an exact duplicate for a civil registered aircraft belonging to a CIA proprietary organization in the Miami area. At a designated time, the duplicate would be substituted for the actual civil aircraft and would be loaded with the selected passengers, all boarded under carefully prepared aliases. All of them. The actual registered aircraft would be converted to a drone.
And there you go.
Right?
Wild. Yeah. So this is all a proposal.
What's that? Say that again?
It's a proposal. It's all wood. It was plans, basically.
It was planned.
Maybe they were followed through with, or maybe not. We don't know. But yeah, that sounds like it was the way it's worded, like a proposal for action. And to and misinformation.
And we know that we went to war, and we know that they successfully implemented this particular project, which was Project Mockingbird. And
so I wanted to say something real quick, so everybody can kind of get a whole view before you finish. So as soon as I got to the bottom of this document, after I had to read it just like you, I'm reading it now after I watched her discuss it, and it was almost like my brain was in a movie, and it was all these things kept coming back, all these memories of this case and this case and this case and this scenario and this disaster and this and that, and it's all of it in a movie when you see it all flash back, and that was flashing through my head, and I'm so now it all literally makes you question everything.
Well, and this is why I don't watch the news and I don't watch commercials and all of these things. The reality is I had a girlfriend that went on to intern at NASA. Very smart cookie, but book smart, not street smart. And I had mentioned to her that I felt that a majority of our movies and things are used to set a desensitization process against us to give us little bits and pieces of things that are already occurring so that when they actually come out for the public to view, we've had a little taste of it. It isn't a shock, right? Kind of things like the Jetsons or Star Trek, where you are talking to somebody on a video screen. She said, Nanette, that's not true. Maybe they made it for entertainment value and then people turned around and tried to actually build it, and that's the way it came about. I'm like, no.
Who did she work for again? Say who she worked for again.
She interned for NASA. She was going to UC Davis.
Well, no, whenever they sign up for that job, they have to sign a paper.
No. She was just a student intern.
Oh.
She was a student at UC Davis interning, doing her internship at NASA. And we had this conversation before she even did the internship. But I tried to express to her that the movies and theater try to set a precedence ahead of time so that it's not so shocking when these things occur. So now we talk about the drone, right? When the drone came out, we've been seeing visions of this through media and through TV for quite some time before it became a reality and was put in any of our hands. And now we can see that the drone existed at a minimum in the 60s. Which it probably was before that, in order for them to have used it efficiently in the 60s. So I think that that's their way. And some of the things that iRobot, right? Talking about AI and robot. I just heard that I think it's China that actually has robot dogs on their borders.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that, but I don't know if it's true.
Well, but we had a movie that came out showing a robot dog, right? Like, so all I'm saying is that the things that were being shown in the media is not somebody coming up with a bright idea. It is somebody who already knows and is being fed. So the media and Hollywood and the high up, elite in this area are being fed with this information in order to make a movie off of it where they still make more money. Again, one hand doesn't exist without the other. Go ahead, Nolan.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just saw like the second or third Twilight Zone episode, and they have a human robot in black and white, early 60s. It's crazy. It was just last night on cable.
Well, I recommend anyone to go back and watch even old movies to see what we're talking about.
That's where I get a majority of my information is now hopping back to the older films, just like it was a 1984 or 89 Outbreak movie with Dustin Hoffman, and they had gone into the hospital room and what?
I'm old. No, 84 is an old.
Well, I watched it obviously after the outbreak of COVID. And so to hear them go into the emergency room and discuss the fact that 54% of Americans were viral resistant that had particular blood types, I then was like, what? Could that even possibly be true? I would have thought any other day that was just set for entertainment. But when I actually did the research, it did turn out to be true. 23andMe, DNA had done a study on blood types and those that were either asymptomatic or viral resistant to the COVID strain. So it was obviously genetically engineered for those with a blood type, and probably they were more susceptible to sicknesses and illnesses, and it being gauged towards that, I think, was kind of aimed at them. But it was interesting to see that we had a movie about an outbreak, and that's where that information came out of, which I would never have known otherwise anywhere else.
True. Okay. Yeah.
And it was true.
Well, and I also I recommend people to go back. This is kind of funny, but I'm being dead serious. To go back and watch many seasons of The Simpsons, because The Simpsons predict obviously everything.
Everything. They aren't Nostradamus by any means. They have inside information like John Mark Carr did, like the Zodiac did. So sometimes when people say that they felt the Zodiac was taking credit for other crimes, they may very well be right. If he is the author for this group, then his job is to confuse the evidence by adding a writing to it that may not match the fingerprints or the DNA involved in the crime, so that it confuses. Yeah. And if he was taking credit for crimes he didn't commit, then that actually solidifies the idea that there is a group involvement here. Because how would he have this inside information like John Mark Carr to write these letters unless he's being fed it from somewhere else? Which brings me to my next tangent.
Who is this guy? Anyway, I keep looking at his face. He looks so familiar.
This is Lawrence Klein. So okay. I was hit up by Christina Klaus.
He looks Italian to me.
He is. He is, I think.
The mobster.
We'll go through it. But Christina Clow actually works with Berkowitz in the Son of Sam murders, so she has engaged me in regards to some handwriting that I'm doing for her, and that is whether or not he actively wrote all of the letters. She had indicated that the FBI stated that it was inconclusive as to whether or not Berkowitz wrote the letters. Now, we got to hear 2 weeks ago, my own mentor and teacher say that she felt that anybody coming out of government or law enforcement into their own private practice would readily give an inconclusive instead of actually making an identification or exclusion of somebody. So I'm a little bothered that the FBI came back with it was inconclusive as to whether or not he wrote those letters, because I think that they would want to have solidified that along with, I mean, obviously he's busted with the gun. Okay, that's a dead giveaway. But these letters as well would indicate, and I think they came back with an inconclusive because there's a possibility that these letters were not written by one person. When I look at them,
they found journals in his apartment, just like with Sirhan, that may have been written under hypnosis or written by someone else.
And
see, those would all be
prominent use back then.
Those would all be interesting journals to see if I can get my hands on them. I have to work with her. I got the letters that are in question. I now need to get handwriting samples of Berkowitz from it. But when she reached out to me, she had an interest in talking to Sandy Betts. She believed that Lawrence Klein was a great shoe-in for the Zodiac, which tells me again what's available on the internet for people to do research, because she really feels like Lawrence Klein was the Zodiac. And I tried to explain to her, I said, first off, he's not even a match for the composite. There's just no way. Second off, he looks a little light in the butt as far as I'm concerned at 5'10", 155 pounds. That man's too damn skinny.
5'9".
I know. It says 5'8". Where'd you see 5'9"?
On the screen right there. His hair is 5'9", so he's probably 5'8". Yeah.
Oh wow! I guess I didn't. So why did they list him as 5'10"? Look at that. So here's inconsistencies. No, I'm glad you pointed that out, because look at the inconsistencies.
No, his hair is 5'9". So
yeah, his hair is 5'9".
5'8.5".
Wow. Maybe 5'8.5", and then literally right next to it they put that he's 5'10", because they're trying to fit this square. Yeah, they're trying to fit
that's how they do it
in a round hole. That was a good pickup, Nolan. I did not pay attention to that, but I did feel that 155 pounds, he does not have that pot belly that we're looking for.
No, that's way too.
I mean, not even the shoulders, I feel like he wouldn't have at that weight.
I skipped across because Nolan and I had both watched. Did you watch the Cover Up? Right? You were saying, Nolan.
Which Cover Up was that?
It's called Cover Up, and it was a Netflix docuseries in regards to the investigative journalist that was.
Seymour Hersh. Seymour
yes.
Hersh. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched that. Yes. It was awesome.
So basically, he's there telling everybody how he has all of this great information, and much of it, if he was to release, he could be killed for. He has lots of high official names and all this stuff, but his stories kept getting squashed by the media because they didn't want the story told. But this is no less than what we see the media controlling for us now and today, and what we saw back there in Guantanamo. Then the other one I watched was the American Conspiracies, the Octopus Murders. Did you watch that one?
I did. Yes, that was amazing.
Amazing. The biggest thing that I took away from the Octopus Murders, which was something I never thought of all the research I've done, I'd never really skipped across anywhere that I felt badly about Ronald Reagan until the Octopus Murders. And then it indicated that we had 40 hostages that were in some country. Was it Iraq, Iran. So we had 40 hostages that were in Iran, and Carter was trying to negotiate their release, but it was unsuccessful. Well, behind Carter's back, Ronald Reagan's administration and George Bush went and paid Iran, what was it, $40 million?
Bunch of money, and gave them missiles. And they were our enemy at the time. Gave them missiles.
And
we trained a lot of their people, too.
Yeah.
Told them to hold on to these hostages until after the presidential election, and basically not to release them. So we pay them ahead of time to hold these hostages, but not release them until after the presidential election, because the consensus is that nobody would re-vote for Carter because they didn't believe his handling of these hostages were good. When in reality, he had no control. The reason why they were fighting him on the release was because they've been paid by Reagan to hold him.
And they were released the day of or the day after he was inaugurated.
Exactly. I'm so disgusted now. Like the last president on my list, I thought would have been good, but hey, he's an actor from Hollywood, right?
I was just about to say, let me tell you a little secret. He was an actor. He was an actor before he was the president. So
right, Hollywood all day long, like whatever. Anyway, so
Reagan's a punk.
Now, here's what you're going to see and read on the internet. In my research, while I'm looking at this stuff for Christina, I start noticing that on sites like ZodiacCiphers.com, which I believe is ran by an ex-FBI agent, he has a lot of great information that's very clear that I'm not sure how he could come across unless he has an in. But he states on there that Officer Fouke, the one that gave the original composite drawing of the Zodiac from the Presidio, stated after seeing Lawrence Kane's picture that that's the closest resemblance to the man I saw on the Presidio than any other suspect I've ever seen. What the fuck?
That's great. It looks nothing like the composite.
Nothing. So why did you give that composite if the guy looks like this? I think it's dissemination once again. They are setting the precedents for people to be confused about what's really going on. He looks absolutely nothing like the composite. Here we go. Here's the composites all day long, right next to him. Not in any instance does this man at all look like these composites.
No, he looks like Ted Bundy more than that Zodiac.
And how did Ted Bundy escape? That's terrible. The worst thing about Ted Bundy is they had him in custody in Utah, and the cops let him escape. He went to Florida and killed more women. That's terrible.
He hopped
they
out
let him out. Somehow I think they let him out.
Keyword there, Noah.
There's more to the story about Bundy.
There is, and they let him out in Utah. What
Utah. He escaped from a library.
The Mormon
I thought he was
state
in the
of
courtroom.
Utah.
I thought he was in the library of the courtroom when he escaped.
Library or somewhere, but he climbed out when he escaped.
Yeah.
Oh, well, get this.
He's a killer, a serial killer. You let him escape? Really? In your watch?
You know what's even crazier is that this picture up here in the right-hand corner, if you guys can see it, is labeled Lawrence Kane. That man does not look anything like that man.
Alan. I think that's Alan, isn't it?
No. Alan who?
The latest one that they say is the Zodiac.
I don't know. Yeah, it might be Lee Allen. Yeah,
Arthur Lee Allen. That's not Arthur Lee Allen by any means.
All right. Well, it's not that dude.
No, it certainly is not. And I don't know why it's listed Lawrence Kane. Again, oops, whatever. They're not responsible for being correct. So I did actually find some of Larry Klein's information. Now, we can see up here that he was initially named Larry Kane, Lawrence Kane. Or Kaye, sorry, Kaye. Then he changed his name to Larry Klein.
That's
we can
what they
see
do.
that his handwriting is very rudimentary. It's not very honed in or mature. It's a typical guy's handwriting, if you will. They don't spend a lot of time practicing it, so it's kind of rough and ready. Let's see here. Rough and ready. They also showed some certificates. See, and now when I look at this, see, please print with name or use typewriter. Employees request for change in records. So he's changing his name on his employee record from Larry Kaye to Larry Klein, it looks like, or vice versa. Either way, I couldn't find anything in all of my research that showed that he ever used Kane. I think that, again, is probably media induced. They've, because they think they found Kane in the 340, which is really Caen. I found that to match more with Herb Kane than I found it to match Larry Kane, especially since it's 240 cipher. Yeah. So as I went through here, there was not a lot to be able to determine other than this man also had a frontal lobe injury that caused his handwriting to be pretty lousy. So if you look at this, he writes in all caps. He does not really use any lowercase letters. I think that we would have seen a lot more droppings of capital letters, but look how off kilter and back and forth this is. Oh
He
my
writes
gosh.
his capital letters. It looks like higher up.
We got about 25 seconds here. I wanted to make it through this handwriting. We didn't. We can pick this up next week. Either way, I did find that he was not the author of the Zodiac. There's just really no way he could be, especially with this type of handwriting. But we will cover this handwriting when we come back next week, and we're going to talk about a secondary new suspect that Nolan has introduced me to via the investigative reporter, I believe, who contacted me from the LA Times last year, who wanted me to do a handwriting exam, then found out what I was part of with the Zodiac, and I never heard back from him. He is now named Marvin Margolis, or Marvin. We'll talk about him after this one next week, you guys. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. I hope your new year has started out great, and thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next Friday.
He didn't kill Black Lawyer.
He did not.
Well, and that was a good recap. That was good.
Oh, this was a good show. It went by so fast. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Good week.
All right, you guys. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.